Welcome to Satya Skills. This is continuation to the previous video on priority sector lending. In this video, let us learn how priority sector came into existence and guidelines by the RBI. After introduction of economic planning, the Government of India launched several economic programs to bring integrated development, and the government decided to provide financial support to agriculture sector along with other programs. Especially the 20-point economic program motivated the government to help the neglected sectors, to make the agriculture sector more profitable and to increase the scope of rural industries. The government introduced concept of priority sector and included those sectors neglected by banks in it. After nationalization of 14 commercial banks in 1969, along with SBI already nationalized, that you all know, its 7 associated banks, a large share of commercial banking came under the fold of public sector. The government, under the guidance of RBI, launched a powerful program called Lead Bank Scheme. I will make a video on this very soon, which urged the banks to establish branches in rural areas. To involve banks in agriculture and rural development, government made priority sector loans as an important part of bank loans. Priority sector is a sector which is given priority in offering financial services by the banks. Capital is the most scarce economic input that you all know. Demand is always greater than supply. In the competition to gain institutional finance, some sectors lost their base. Therefore, the government decided to bring them under the category of priority sector, where some percentage of total loans are to be given to priority sector by the banks. The concept of priority sector was first brought into the financial system in 1968 itself, that is before nationalization of 14 major commercial banks. You have to remember this point. At the time when they imposed social control over the commercial banks, you have to remember this very well. When the government imposed social control over the banks, they introduced it. Banks were directed to lend some percentage of loans to the sectors listed in the priority sector. In 1968, there were 3 sectors only in priority sector. They were agriculture, small industry and export trade. Gradually, the list increased. At present, it consists of agriculture, small scale industry, small transport operators, export trade, small business, housing, self-employed people, professionals, education loans, etc. Recently, the microfinance through self-help groups is also included in priority sector. RBI prescribes guidelines and targets to all the commercial banks in public sector and private sector, and also foreign banks operating in India with regard to priority sector services. Aim of RBI is to make sure that some amount will be diverted towards priority sector by the banks. For that purpose, RBI gives timely directions and encourages banks to expand the scope of lending by introducing new and innovative schemes to the priority sectors. RBI set targets for lending the priority sector by banks in India. Commercial banks in both private and public sector need to divert prescribed percentage of loans to all priority sectors. That is mandatory, compulsory. Foreign banks operating in India should also need to lend a percent of loans to priority sector. They can lend to exports and small industry, but then it is not compulsory for foreign banks to lend to agriculture. That's all in this video. All the best.